Hey there, I'm Silver the Hedgehog, back from the future to participate in the Crossworlds Grand Prix. I wanted to share some future knowledge with you about the game to help everyone out when learning it so every race is as good as possible. Today, I'm talking about the new gear system. Gears are an equipable system in Sonic Racing Crossworlds that let you customize your racing experience even further. After racing a bit, you'll unlock all 6 available gear slots and will be able to make up to 5 different loadouts to swap between as desired. Keep in mind that slots are in 2 rows of 3, so you cannot have 3 2-slot gears, for example, even though those add up to 6. Gear combinations can make or break races, so allow me to break them all down for you and explain each one, as well as explain which loadout ended up being the most used by the most high-ranking players, including myself, during the beta. Starting off, let's go over the item modifier gears. The item modifier gears start off with the Warp Ring. Add Warp Ring. Costing 2 slots, this gear will add the Warp Ring item to your item pool, and start every race with 1 in your inventory. The Warp Ring is a comeback item that locks onto an opponent ahead of you, warping you to them and knocking them aside. This cannot be pulled in the higher places, and taking an entire gear slot up just to get a decent comeback item is not worth it. Attack item chance up. Costing 1 slot, this gear does exactly what it says. It increases the probability of you pulling attack items. This can be decent as attack items can also be thrown backwards for defense as well. However, if you are front running, you really do not want to lower your odds of pulling a defensive tornado or shield instead. Giant Rocket Punch. Costing 1 slot, this gear makes the green Rocket Punch attack item bigger. That's all. Don't use this, there are so many better options. Item Stock Swap. Costing 3 slots, this gear has an extremely impressive ability. Being able to item cycle your items to smuggle an item without having to use it has really high potential, as you could smuggle a boost into first place to take a key shortcut, or a monster truck to dodge a boom ghost, and never be forced to lose it to protect yourself, as you can use an item and swap the good one to the back slot. However, despite this, I do not believe this is worth taking up 3 entire slots as the Dark Chow item is rather common appearing in races, and thus forces everyone to get new items, making this hard to use as effectively, as your items will be replaced anyway. Item Stock Plus. Costing 2 slots, this gear gives you a 3rd item slot. Pretty straightforward. Seems useful, but item boxes are not spaced that far apart on the tracks, so you really won't be lacking in items too often to ever really need a 3rd slot. Hazard item chance up. Costing 1 slot, this increases the odds that you pull a hazard type item. This is bad. Hazard items are overall easy to avoid, and their best use is to throw behind you to destroy attack items. Defense item chance up. Costing 2 slots, this increases the odds you'll pull a defense type item. This can be very useful for front running to get more tornadoes and shields to defend yourself against most threats. However, it can also mean you sacrifice other speed options as well, since it costs 2 slots and not 1. And the Void only sucks up nearby rings and traps, and it doesn't protect you from getting hit. Still a viable option potentially. Boost item chance up. Costing 3 slots, this increases the odds you'll pull a boost type item. While this can increase the odds of getting a boost items closer to the front of the pack to take more shortcuts, this simply is not worth taking up 3 of your gear slots for. Alright, let's move on to the driving modifying gears. Speedy Air Trick. Costing 2 slots, this is the best gear currently in the game. Air Tricks give you a speed with a higher boost for doing more tricks in a jump. While this does cap at only 3 tricks, many ramps are not big enough to get 3 tricks off every time with a default speed. With Speedy Air Trick, you can get a max air trick boost off nearly every ramp in the game, maximizing speed potential, as there are a lot of places to get air. Furthermore, there are a lot of small places where the tracks change elevation, or you hit a small bump where you'll get some air, and with Speedy Air Trick, you can mash out a trick on those to get small boosts in many places you otherwise wouldn't. Finally, if you're still even barely in the air after getting hit by an item when the damage frames wear off, you can mash out a trick to recover with a burst of speed as you land, making getting hit less punishing. All in all, if base trick speed was not buffed or this got nerfed, this was easily the most used gear in the beta and the best in the game. Collision Boost. Costing 2 slots, this gear gives you a small boost when you collide with another racer. This can also activate if someone else collides with you. There's a small cooldown between activations, so you cannot keep slamming into someone who also has this to endlessly boost. Collisions in this game are extremely common, so this sounds like a great way to get more speed. Wrong. This gear is actually very detrimental as it activates both when you hit someone and when they hit you, meaning you can be taking a sharp turn and if someone bumps into you activating this boost, it could send you off the track. Because of this, I wouldn't recommend using this gear. Slipstream enhancement. Costing 1 slot, this gear increases the distance you can get behind another racer to start a slipstream, which gives you a boost if you stay in the slipstream for a few seconds, which allows you to pass other racers without items. Simple and useful for higher speed, and it has a cheap cost. Useless if you're front running, but until you're on the front, it's a great gear to consider. Ultimate Drift Charge. Costing 2 slots, this gear does what it says. It adds a 4th level to your drift gauge to fill for an even greater boost. Issue is this is not something you will see except on the longest turns and thus will not get the most use to be worth 2 slots. Also, one of the frenzy modifiers in Crossworld segments can give drift boost level 4, making this become completely pointless when that happens. Level 1 Quick Charge. Costing 1 slot, this gear lets you charge the first gauge of your drift for even faster to quickly reach that boost. This being only 1 slot and how often you make small turns on every track, this makes it one of the better gears in the game as well, and it works when in boat and plane forms as well to get faster boosts on straightaways. Highly recommended. Perfect Drift Boost. Costing 2 slots, this gear increases the boost you get from drifting if you time releasing your drift right as the gauge fills. This is bad simply because most corners are not going to end perfectly when your drift gauge would fill, making it impractical to get this boost many times and it wouldn't help you. Technical Drift. Costing 2 slots, this gear lets you charge your drift gauge faster on land with the cost of being able to slide out of your drift easier. This is bad because not only does it cost 2 slots, it also has a detriment that could cause you to lose drift boosts. You could say it's no use. Switching Quick Charge. Costing 3 slots, this gear lets you instantly fill your drift gauge when you perform a switch drift, allowing for better drift boosts faster. However, the flaw is switch drifting cannot be used on every corner, and this taking up 3 slots for limited use makes it not very practical. Finally, we have the ring modifier gears. Ring Limit Up. Costing 2 slots, this gear doubles your ring capacity to let you carry up to 200 instead of 100 rings. However, this does not give you higher max speed. Your speed still caps at 100 rings. This just lets you get more than that, so if you take damage, you may not lose any speed if you were over 100 rings. It can be useful for front running, but it means you can't take other ring gaining options, and in some races you may never even reach 100 rings if unlucky with item attacks. Considerable, but maybe not the best. Item Attack Ring Bonus. Costing 1 slot, this gear gives you 10 rings every time you hit an opponent with an item. Rings increase your top speed, so you want every ring you can get, so faster ways to get rings is very helpful. Opponents hitting your hazard traps will also give rings, as well as any items that attack multiple opponents will give 10 rings per hit. This is a cheap gear that will activate constantly throughout a race to help keep your ring reserves high. Runoff Bonus. Costing 1 slot, this gear gives you a bonus rings when you take a shortcut using a boost item. This really doesn't help you when front running, and there's better ways to get rings than when able to take a shortcut using a boost. Not bad, but there are better options. Ring Range Up, 1 slot. This gear increases the range you can grab rings like it says. It's simple and good for getting your rings up quicker. However, once you're really good at drifting, you will be able to drift through ring trails better and maybe not need this. Dash Panel Bonus. Costing 2 slots, this gear gives 5 to 10 rings when you hit dash pads. These are scattered all over every track and this will give an additional reliable source of rings. Keep in mind it does cost 2 slots, so consider it wisely. Ring Steal. Costing 2 slots, this gear steals 10 rings from an opponent every time you collide with them, regardless of who caused the collision. There is a small cooldown, so rings cannot be constantly stolen, But with how often collisions happen in this game, this is a phenomenal gear to have every time you bang into an opponent. You literally take away some of their speed and add it to your own. Late in the beta, nearly everyone was using this for good reason. Low rings, top speed. Costing 2 slots, this gear reverses the effects of rings by making your top speed higher when you have less. Rings are everywhere, and changing your game plan to need to avoid rings rather than get them all will probably be more trouble than it's worth. Ring boost effect up. Costing 2 slots, this gear increases the small boost effect you get upon attaining rings. This is nice to overall go faster, but the effect isn't better than just getting drift or air trick bonuses, and many ring trails are in the air or on curves. So overall, this may be limited in use for costing 2 slots. Might matter heavier on certain tracks with long stretches and ring paths to chain together. Ring guard. Costing 2 slots, this gear halves the rings lost when you take damage. Sounds great, but when you're going to take damage a lot, so having more ways to gain rings, in my opinion, is better than playing defense only. Double rings. Costing 3 slots, this gear doubles all rings you receive. Rings are important for top speed, but taking up 3 slots to double your income means you can't take other good gears to give you that income. Therefore, I don't really think this is worth the cost. And there you have it, all known gears from the beta and what they each do. There are many good combinations, so experimentation is recommended. For those that are wondering about the meta build, I saw most in the beta after using it myself, because you can check players in the lobby to see what they have equipped, and I think a lot of players saw my rank and copied my loadout. Anyway, I used fast air trick, ring steal, item attack ring bonus, and level 1 quick charge. The reason for this build is fast tricks is just mandatory. Ring steal means when the constant collisions happen, I get fed rings, and I also started races off by just slamming immediately into my opponents nearby using my startup bonus. Item attacks happen all race for even more rings, and finally the drift charge speed for getting extra quick boosts out of my turn and faster quick boosting during boat and plane segments. So that was my favorite loadout to use. Anyway, once the full game releases, I will analyze any new gears added and check over the beta gears to see if any adjustments were made, and likely make another video about that. Hope everyone can take this information to plan out some possible builds that they want to plan for the full release of the game. This has been Silver the Hedgehog, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all at the finish line soon. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more Sonic Racing Crossworlds content. Have a wonderful rest of your night.